Hey everyone, what's going on? Ash here from MEOdyssey. Just a quick message before today's video, just to let you know some very cool news. Fryda Wolff, the voice of Sarah Ryder in Mass Effect Andromeda, has very kindly agreed to appear on the channel in a video to answer some of our questions and to answer some of your questions as well. This will all be happening on Sunday the 27th of November. Now we're going to be asking a few questions ourselves, but we really want your guys' questions to put to Fryda, and we really want you guys to leave your questions down in the comments below. What we must stress is that Fryda cannot answer any questions in regards to Mass Effect Andromeda. This is of course to avoid any spoilers and any breach of NDAs, anything like that, so we won't be asking any questions in regards to Mass Effect Andromeda ourselves, and if you do ask any questions in regards to Mass Effect Andromeda to put to Fryda, we will simply ignore them. But if you've got any other questions for Fryda about her career in voice acting, or about the Mass Effect trilogy beforehand, or any other questions like that, please feel free to put them down in the comments below, and we're going to ask as many as we can to Fryda when we get to speak to her a week on Sunday. So that's all for now. Get your questions in for Fryda down in the comments below, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. We thought that N7 Day 2016 had everything to reveal about the upcoming Mass Effect game, but then we heard about the month-long coverage from GameInformer. We knew then that we were in for a lot of information. Hi, this is Ash and Rima from MEOdyssey, and today we'll be breaking down everything that GameInformer has had to share so far since N7 Day 2016 up until the 14th of November, so obviously there's still more information to come. This will include the article, 101 Questions interview with Mac Walters, and some articles on GameInformer's official website. So, here we go. Before we get into the meat of the cover story, we thought we'd look at some of the gems from the interview with some of the lead figures of BioWare's past and present in the article named Doctors and Dragons. This interview discussed how the company we know and love today, BioWare, came to exist, as well as archives the thoughts and feelings behind how some of their greatest titles came about. The interviewees shared some great stories about how Mass Effect was first pitched in a Greek restaurant, to how Microsoft were afraid that Mass Effect sounded too much like Halo. So there are a lot of points from the cover story on Mass Effect Andromeda, so we'll try and cover the main points that we thought were intriguing or informative. We highly recommend that if you haven't read it and are interested in Mass Effect Andromeda's development, please read it, and beware, there are some minor story spoilers ahead.
A point that's already been covered and confirmed is the fact that Mass Effect Andromeda will occur in 2185, and the BioWare devs have made it clear that the Andromeda Initiative will be created where the residents of the Milky Way are in relative peace and stability. There will be 4 arcs, each home to 4 different species: the Turians, Stellarians, Asari, and the humans. Gameplay will be more dynamic and takes inspiration from Mass Effect 3's multiplayer. For example, you'll no longer have the ability to pause the game using the ability wheel. Cover will also be more refined. For example, you will now go into cover automatically when you approach cover, but effortlessly be able to move away from it, no longer having to be able to stick things like Velcro. The jetpack is also not just about traversing the environment. You can use it in combat. For example, the combat role that we used to have in Mass Effect will now be replaced with a dash, as well as aerial and hover maneuvers, much like Halo. The class system's also been dissolved. You are no longer stuck to picking from one class archetype, such as Soldier or Adept. If you place certain points in certain skill trees, you unlock certain benefits. If you spend your skills around, you can unlock the Explorer's profile, which is something we've never seen in Mass Effect. Mass Effect has never given us the opportunity to undertake first contact with a species, and Mass Effect Andromeda plans to throw that out the window, with the Kett being the first species we will encounter. Now, they are being shown to be antagonistic in the trailers, but the BioWare devs don't want to paint them in that light, and maybe want to leave us room to maybe empathize with them in the future, maybe for the story? So, after 600 years of travelling, the Hyperion ends up not in its target golden world, Habitat 7, but in a volatile energy cloud unable to contact any of the other arcs, or the Nexus, the forward command centre. The world itself is full of choices and encounters, for example puzzles, combat encounters, missions for example, and there are several planets that are optional that you may encounter on different paths. For example, there's a desert planet that you may end up going to because you're recruited by a Krogan to find a Krogan colony ship. One of your main priorities for exploration will be for looking for, quote, forward stations that are dropped from orbit. They act as fast travel points and safe zones. Just maybe think of Dragon Age's Inquisition's camps. There also may be, quote, super bosses on certain planets that are more difficult and may require leveling up before you can tackle them. And the scanner will be vital during exploration. Ryder can scan a variety of things and send information back to the quote mission computer who they are actively communicating with. And maybe this is the voice we heard in the PS4 Pro trailer during the live stream. The more objects you scan, the better the end result, so it's in our benefit to scan basically everything. The Tempest itself will be smaller than Normandy, acting as a scouting ship. It will feel, quote, more confined and will have seamless loading time, something we were very eager for on our wish list. There will also be more attention to detail. For example, you'll be able to see the location outside the window, something that was somehow missed in the trilogy. And as Mac Walters has said, quote, we have more romances than we ever had. Romances will take on a variety of roles. For example, characters that you'll be just able to, as he said, hop into bed with immediately. There'll be characters that will want a slow romance, a more of a casual relationship, and there'll be characters that don't want to be romanced at all. Not only will we have more developed romances that are complex, we'll also have a very unique relationship that we've never seen, and that's one with our twin. Your twin will be stuck in cryogenic sleep due to, quote, complications. However, they will join you eventually but will not be part of your squad, and they'll have their entire own story. Loyalty missions make their appearance again in Mass Effect Andromeda, but they will be optional and will not affect the endgame, unlike the other titles in the trilogy. And also, Mac made a good point of saying that the more time you spend developing relationships and interacting with characters, the more you'll get from them. He points out saying, quote, our fans call it a lot of shooting balls on the Citadel with Garrus. There's a lot more of that in Andromeda, which is something I'm personally very happy to see.
In GameInformer's podcast, they discussed their first impressions with the first hour of the game. So, what did we learn from this podcast? Well, even with all the changes, we'll still be feeling the same Mass Effect look and feel. The GameInformer's crew made note that 100,000 people will be heading to Andromeda, but weren't sure as to whether this was on just one of the arcs or in total. They also made casual note of Jen Garson as the entrepreneur of the Andromeda Initiative, as well as made note to an Asari doctor just named as Dr. Lexi, that was seemingly aboard the Hyperion with Ryder. Did we get to see her briefly in the N7-Day trailer here? The Pathfinder is the exemplar of each species and has access to special equipment and abilities, therefore why Ryder isn't limited to one class. Alec Ryder was the Pathfinder for Hyperion, however younger Ryder takes on the mantle in Mass Effect Andromeda. There will also be more of a significance of picking a gender, more so than picking between femship and broship, though how isn't shared at this point. We will see environmental damage on planets, a more complex and refined version of what we saw on Haestrom in Mass Effect 2.
GameInformer has also been sharing a lot of information on their website, as well as building upon what we saw in the cover story. Far more in depth than what was in the cover story, we get some more information of two of Ryder's companions, Liam and PB, two characters that we have seen in the trailers. Liam is described as a young, enthusiastic and idealistic man and has a light-hearted attitude, sometimes even lightening bad news. However, quote, he wears his heart on his sleeve and can get quite fired up. As an ex-police officer, Liam takes on a security role in the team and is very loyal to Ryder and him having, quote, Ryder's back. The smiling Asari, who's become one of the faces of Mass Effect Andromeda, as she's described, is a lone wolf and an adventurer, though doesn't really seem to follow common social conceptions. She came to Andromeda via the Nexus, but then went her own way, meeting Ryder along the way. She has a particular interest in alien tech and also can be quite boisterous. Apparently, when she first meets Ryder, she ends up tackling them. BioWare shared via GameInformer their thoughts on how the Kett should be designed. Joel McMillan, the art director for the project, discussed how one of the main aims for the Kett was to make them an alien race we couldn't recognise. They did this by giving them a more organic armour with a more militaristic look. Though antagonists and meant to look foreboding, you should be able to recognise them as something and be able to empathise with them. A point for a storyline maybe.
And now we're finally here, at the 101 Questions interview with Mac Walters. We have filtered out all the questions in this interview that were jokey or for comedic value. We have focused on the questions and answers that are relevant to Mass Effect Andromeda's story, gameplay, characters, basically anything to do with the game itself. So Rima and I are going to fire through this rapidly, so get ready. Also, I'll be the one asking the questions and Rima is the one that's going to be giving Mac Walters' responses. Can we customise the way our dad and twin look?
Yes.
Can our dad and twin be of different ethnicities?
Yes.
Can you get married in Mass Effect Andromeda?
No, not traditionally.
Is there a New Game Plus?
Yes.
Will the game run natively in 4K?
No.
Is Mass Effect Andromeda 30 frames a second?
On console, yes. On PC, frame rates can be higher.
Mass Effect Andromeda on PS4 Pro?
To be decided.
Will there be moments in Andromeda that make us cry?
There already are.
Is Andromeda harder to make than Mass Effect 1?
About the same.
Is the Galaxy map music back?
There is galaxy music.
Is the Galaxy map back?
There is a galaxy map, but it's very different.
Will your save from Andromeda carry forward into future Mass Effect games?
To be determined.
So would the next game be called Mass Effect Andromeda 2?
To be determined.
Do you consider this game the start of a new trilogy?
No.
Will there be Paragon Renegade dialogue choices?
They're not called Renegade and Paragon, and there'll be choices that feel Paragon or Renegade.
Will there be conversation interrupts?
Yes.
Is there mineral scanning?
Different from what you've seen before, but yes.
Are there any original crew members in the game?
No.
Does any character sing at any point?
Yes, we think so.
Can I use the jetpack inside the Tempest?
No, unless it's a bug.
Can you play the campaign offline?
Yes.
Will there be downloadable characters?
To be determined.
When were the Andromeda Initiative sent to Andromeda?
Right after Mass Effect 2, but before Mass Effect 3.
Did people volunteer for the Andromeda mission?
Yes.
How many years after Mass Effect 3 does Andromeda take place?
They arrive 600 years after they left. They leave right after the events of Mass Effect 2.
Is Shepard dead?
After 600 years, I'm going to say yes.
Is every character from the original trilogy dead?
No, I would assume some could survive 600 years, long lifespans.
Are there Reapers in Andromeda?
There are no Reapers in Andromeda.
Do we have to fuel up the Tempest?
No.
Is there any way of communicating with the Milky Way galaxy?
Not in this game.
Are there people at the council I would want to hang up on?
There are people like the council that you'll want to hang up on.
Is Omnigel still a thing?
They didn't really bring any with them. They didn't have any room.
Can crew members die in this game?
Crew members? No.
Can companions die?
Companions? No.
Is Andromeda an open world game?
It's a game with open world elements.
Is the new Mako, or the Nomad, going to suck?
No, the Nomad is awesome.
Is there a bar on the Tempest?
No.
Is there a precursor race?
No, I wouldn't call it that.
Can you stab people with holograms in Andromeda?
Yes.
How many classes are there?
There are 7, technically.
Do you think a co-op campaign could work in a Mass Effect game?
I do.
When is this game coming out?
Spring-ish 2017.
Feeling confident in that?
Oh, I'm feeling confident.
So that's everything we've learned from dissecting and breaking down what GameInformer has given us up to the 14th of November 2016. Now there is a lot of information there, but we hope we've managed to summarise it a little bit for you, but we highly recommend that if you're interested in learning more, please check out the December issue of GameInformer. As always, you can stay up to date on all things Mass Effect, and you can help the channel to grow by sharing the video too. Thanks for sticking with us on this long breakdown, and we look forward to seeing you very soon.